Big Sales National Football Show. Another year of Cam Jurgens not playing, I see. Okay. I'd rather have Kelsey back, too. I would. You know, I'll tell you this. I think I'd rather be in the position that the Eagles are in, though, than what the stupid Jets are in. You're pursuing. Let me try to. No, I won't go there. He's not Jesse Smollett. Okay, he's not a drama king. Okay, is he Jesse Smollett? Okay, wait. I mean, let me think, man. Who is this guy? Aaron Rodgers, like, yeah, you know, I'd like to have a wish list of this, and that, and that. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, man. I'd rather be in the position where the Eagles are in. Okay? I really would. I'd rather be in the position of coming from success than never success. Joe Namath, Fireman Ed, and Jody McDowell. Eddie Jet, even Carton. Just suffering football fans in New York with the Jets. They're never good. They're never good. And the most significant dude in the history of the Jets is a guy that hits himself in the head. I mean, how do you look at the Jets and go, let me take them serious? How in the world do you take the Jets serious when the only guy that you've seen in the last 35 years that has been anybody has been Fireman Ed? Oh my God. Anyway, if he gets out of the NFC, let's take a look at the top NFC teams. Okay? And again, the new news, like I said yesterday, there's one thing that you have to look at. Can a team absorb a loss of a really good player? Sure. But not 9. Not 9. You're going to lose 9 starters maybe. Think about that. Sayamalo, let's take a look at it. I think it's maybe 7 starters. Sayamalo, Miles Sanders, Hardgrave, White, Edwards. The 2 corners, Bradbury and 7 starters on your 22 is significant. It's significant. Those guys were all productive last year. Rashad Penny. You know, I'm not going to say anything, but I saw people trying to make this thing look good, like I told you people in Philly will. He had 300 yards last year. He had 300 yards. Put that in your, I don't care how you want to slice this up. Hey, I can make anything look good. He's never healthy. It's a shitty sign, and it's a cheap sign. And it's also a sign that shows you what their value is at the running back position. They don't care. They don't care about linebackers. I'll tell you this. If I'm Washington, the Cowboys, and New York, I get the best tight ends I can, and I attack Philly. You don't have anybody to cover. Dude, there's not a guy on that football team that can cover Travis Kelce, Kittle, any of these top. The guy in Baltimore, dude, a decent tight end will kill you. You don't have a linebacker. The 2 linebackers. Dude, what's crazy about the whole thing is that TJ Edwards and Kaiser White both struggled covering linebackers out of the backfield or tight ends and backs. And they got really substantial pay raises. White made 1 something last year. He's now making 5.5. Edwards was making 1.2. He's making 7. That's why I'm going like this with Bradbury and Gardner Johnson. If those guys are getting that money and you paid that much for Hargrave and you're talking about a money position at corner, why in the world would they stay in Philadelphia unless Philadelphia overpays? And how are you going to overpay when you got a quarterback to pay? You can't. And get this, Gardner Johnson and Bradbury are not going to go for 1 or 2 year contracts. They're looking for 4-year deals. See, Howie can offer you a 2-year deal, but they don't want 2 years. Javon, you know why he offered Hargrave 3 years? Because he was going to absorb some of it, then get rid of his ass. Why? Because Jalen's contract would kick in 24. He's playing the numbers game. This guy is moving money around. He's not acquiring talent. Rashad Penny, I'll say this to you. He was great in college at San Diego State. So was Donnell Pumphrey. He's better. That's not fair. He's better. But he's never healthy. And he can't block in the passing game. That's why Carson beat him out up there. Do we have a number for the Penny sign? I guarantee you it's nothing. Okay? Guarantee you it was nothing. It was a nothing burger. He doesn't have the money. I mean, again, it's just that's the precursor to let you know Sanders. Oh, I forgot Miles Sanders is gone. There's another guy gone. That's to get you guys ready for it. Get this. Look what Howie did. So he signed a guy who was a bomb in Seattle, number 1 pick. He's going to replace him, Miles Sanders, with that guy as Sanders goes out and takes his 1,311 touchdowns somewhere else and won't look that bad on paper. But everyone knows who, or anyone who knows and follows the NFL knows Penny has been a bust. And again, not saying that Sanders has been 100% healthy because he hasn't. This guy's less healthier. Dude, if they just gave Kaiser White $5.5 million, Miles Sanders is going to get over that. Dude, Tone's right. Penny might not even make it through training camp. Well, then again, wait a minute, Tone. The Eagle training camp? I don't think he has a problem making it through that. First time he ever had 1,000. Dude, hey, Montana, I would say this to you. I'm not paying $7 million for a 1-year wonder, but you want to pay $50 million for one. So wait a minute. Let me get this right. Sanders had a good year. Great year. Pro Bowl year. 1,300 yards. You don't want to pay him because you're calling him a 1-year wonder, but you want to pay Hurts off of 1 year. Reasonable thinking. And you want to see the difference between paying Miles Sanders and the difference between paying Jalen Hurts. That number you pay that quarterback affects the salary cap for the next 10 years. Best O-line, that's why. Oh, yeah. I don't care what kind of O-line you have. If a guy's never healthy, it won't matter. He's never healthy. Get this through your minds. Rashad Penny was a failure in Seattle. The same way Andre Dillard was a failure in Philly. They were 2 number 1 picks. They both went in the first round. They were failures. If you don't get to your second contract and you're a first rounder, you're a bust. Does that change? Oh, wait. Is that different in Philly? Is there a different measuring stick in Philly? Oh, that's right. You guys had to go through the Jalen Reagor deal. Rashad will put up some impressive. I'm not going to talk about. I've talked more about Rashad Penny on my program today than I have in the last 5 years, and I'm done with it. He's a nothing burger. It's a dollar store sign. I'm done with it. Good luck to you. Hope he makes it through training camp. Let's look at something here that might play into the Eagles' favor here. Okay? I'm going to put the top 10 teams here on March 14th. And I'm going to put them in order. And if you're the Eagles, are you, having won the NFC, defending champions, by the way, the roster's already not the same. Watch this. This is how bad the NFC is. I got the Giants 10th. The Giants are terrible. You know what? And I just got through talking about Rashad Penny. The kid they got from the Raiders, Waller, fantastic ball player. Another guy, stay out of the tub, kid. He's a guy. The difference there, though, is this guy's productive. This guy's a great ball player. His injuries, and that's been his issue. Rashad Penny, on the other hand, lack of production and never healthy. And 11 starts in 5 years, and they traded up to get him. I don't know. This kid Waller's hurt a lot, especially the last 3 years. Giants surrendered the 100th pick, I think it is. I think a third rounder. Okay? Significant. But I think both teams, we'll see who wins this. We'll see who wins this. I got the Commanders at 9. I think the Commanders, man, I think they're building something. O-line's getting better. Antonio Gibson, both receivers are good. The defense is getting better and better. By the way, I got a feeling that a kid Joey Porter Jr. is going to land in Washington. And you're going to have dudes like Hamilton at safety, Porter at corner. Your defensive line is one of the better, and you get Chase Young back. I'm going to tell you, man, I think Washington is a team to keep an eyeball on. No question. The quarterback position is an issue, and it's been an issue there for 10 years. They've never gotten that position right. Okay? They did win the division 2 years ago. We'll see. Sam Howell, I don't know. But look what I'm talking about. 10 is the Giants. 9 is the Commanders in the NFC. Really? Number 8, I got the Vikings. So the Vikings are one of these teams that put up incredible numbers. But when they get into an incredible moment or a big-time game, this thing folds like an armchair. They are never in a big game and winning it. They are never. Shit, the game in Buffalo, if it wasn't for Allen fumbling the ball, they don't beat them up there in Buffalo. Okay? So I got Giants, Commanders, and Vikings. Okay? Let me take a look at something. There's something on the move here about the cornerback, CJ. Hang on. Okay, not yet. Hey. Right. Okay. Correct. So not yet. Not yet. There's some movement going on with Gardner Johnson and Bradbury. Hey, by the way, I believe the kid from Notre Dame is with the Ravens. I misspoke. think the kid's with the Ravens, if I'm not mistaken. The kid from Notre Dame. I know Washington wanted him last year, but he's with the Ravens. All right, number 7. I've got the Saints here at 7. So I got Giants at 10, Commanders at 9, Vikings at 8, Saints at 7. So Derek Carr, I mean, look at the NFC here. So if you're the Eagles, you're doing this. Man, we may take a step back. But does any of these teams, do they really? I mean, I got the Cowboys at 6. I got the Eagles at 5. You know who I think's got a better roster than the Eagles? Here are the teams that I think have better rosters than you. I think the Lions have a better roster than you. I think the Packers, now this is going to change if Rodgers goes to the Jets, is 3. I think the Seahawks have a better roster than you. And the 49ers are the preeminent team to beat in the NFC. However, every one of these teams are beatable. There's nobody on like, watch this. Can the Eagles win the NFC again with this group here? Potentially. But you also have changes at quarterback. Okay? Not one of these teams, not one of them, are a roster like we saw last year. 49ers have the best roster, and it's not close. But again, question marks at the top. Hey, 49ers, do me a favor. Niners all damn day. How many times has the Niners been to the NFC Championship game in the last 5 years? Is it 4 now? You know, for all the people saying that they don't get the quarterback right, they sure get the team right. They sure get the team right. It just shows you San Francisco not paying for a quarterback is consistently in that game. They're consistently in that game. Jamie, who's the quarterback? Does it matter? They get to the NFC title game with Brock Purdy. Did it matter? You can't look at an injury and go, well, they didn't get to the Super. The Eagles knocked the guy out. It's a football play. Yale can't get over the hump. I'll tell you what, though, Yale, at least they get to the hump. How many times have they been to the NFC Championship game in the last 5 years? Four? Penny tips the scales. Who? Someone would go like this to me, sells the Eagles sign, Rashad Penny. And my answer is, who? Who? He sucks. Look at his career. Holy shit. Was he like the sick? What pick was he? Let's take a look at that. What pick was this guy? Rashad Penny. Hold on. Tone's got it. Last 5 years, San Francisco's been there 3 times. Okay. Let's see here. Rashad Penny. What was his pick? He was the 27th player taken in 18. He got 11 starts. This guy's a first-round draft choice, and he stunk. But he's a great Eagle acquisition. Boy, man, I'll tell you what, you guys get fed a bunch of shit. Dude, I think Gainwell and Boston should be the starters. Okay? I do. Philly 500 thinks he's a good pickup. We'll talk to him at 5:30, and I'll ask him, why does he think that? He's never been healthy. He couldn't beat a 6-rounder out in Seattle. The kid Carson beat him out. What was that kid Carson's name? What was that kid Carson's name? I want to show you something. What was his name? Chris Carson? What was his name? The guy in Seattle. I'm going to show you something. And what he did with Penny on the roster. I actually like the kid. I think it's Chris Carson. This is Chris Carson's numbers. When he was, okay, he got there almost the same time Rashad Penny got there. In 2018, he had 1,100 yards rushing and 9 touchdowns. In 2019, he had 1,200 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns. In 20, he had 681. His entire time, Chris Carson. His entire time. In Seattle, he outperformed him. Shit. And he's a 6-rounder. But Rashad's a great pickup. Okay. Dude, the kid Carson's a good football player. I liked him, man. Penny was probably hurt his entire 5 years. He was. Correct. Yale, he was good in college, Yale. A couple 2,000-yard rushing season at San Diego State. I thought he was actually going to go up to Seattle and be a force up there and take on the role of Marshawn Lynch up there. Never panned out. Never panned out. Okay? Never panned out because he couldn't stay healthy. And he struggles in pass protection. So, again, I mean, here's what the Eagles have done. They're going to replace a guy who gets hurt in Miles Sanders with a guy who gets hurt more and less productive. Makes sense. It's a cheap move. It's a cheap move. And again, they're preparing. Dude, the Eagles are going to be a big player in the draft, in my opinion. This is why I think they have to move Darius Slay. So again, I showed you this list here. I don't really think the Eagles are looking at this going, we may take a step back talent-wise on our roster, but hasn't the NFC taken – let's do this. Do you guys think the NFC as a conference is taking a step back more than the Eagles will take a step back roster-wise? That's the fundamental question, especially when you're paying a guy like Jalen Hurts. I think that's the overall philosophy and how you have to look at this. The Eagles may take a step back, but has the conference again in general. And will the NFC East get better? Here, the conference, in my opinion, I think, is still taking steps backwards. Okay? But I do think the NFC East, outside of the Cowboys, is getting better. Now, watch this. If the Cowboys land Odell Beckham, does that improve their team? Yeah, probably. Health is an issue there as well. You still got Mike McCarthy, who's now the play caller. Jesus criminy. I mean, give yourself a chance to win. Right? Give yourself a chance to win. So ask yourself the question here. We may take a step back, and I'm talking if you're Philly. But what about the conference? Look, the names I mentioned to you with the quarterbacks. Look at these quarterbacks that are in the NFC. Hurts, okay? Derek Carr, He just got fired in Las Vegas. Stafford comes off a horrible season in an injury-plagued year. Geno Smith. Dak. Jared Goff? I guess. Hey, you know what's funny about Jared Goff? Jared Goff got a team to a Super Bowl too. Same way your guy did. I thought Jared Goff was pretty good last year. Kirk Cousins? Kyler Murray when he's healthy? Justin Fields, who can't throw the football through a barn door that's open? This doesn't sound like a gauntlet of quarterbacks that you have to navigate through. You know, I mean, that's not like a who's who of quarterbacks. Just saying. Why didn't the Eagles go after Austin Eckler instead of Rashad Penny? You could have got Austin Eckler, but you went for Penny. Oh, Jamie says it. Money? Oh, so you got the cheaper dude at the dollar store. Oh. Austin Eckler is kind of like a cheap man's version of Christian McCaffrey, who Howie kind of kicked the tires on at the trading deadline. But you got Penny instead of kicking it up for Austin Eckler. Shows you what they think of the position again, like I said. Austin Eckler had permission to seek a trade, and the Eagles signed Rashad Penny. Oh. Oh, hey, wait a minute, Tone. Why couldn't you have at least gone after Eckler? Why not Austin Eckler? I mean, okay, I get the guy from Vegas. I think they put a franchise tag on Jacobs, okay? But now you go after Penny and not Eckler. Oh, okay. Hey, that makes sense. To your point, I believe Eckler's going for a sign and trade situation. Could want more than Sanders. Eagles pinching pennies. No pun intended. Oh, no, they're skipping pennies. Pennies. I got pennies. Pennies from heaven. Rashad Pennies. Oh, my God. I'll bet you because if I'm not mistaken, don't they have decisions to make on Mike Williams and Keenan Allen? Here's another football team can't keep them all and pay Justin Herbert. Okay, so, right? You got to pay Justin Herbert because he was in that draft. You got to pay Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. You can't pay Eckler. But you signed pennies from heaven. Yeah. Oof. Yale goes, Herbert's going to get big money, you think? Hey, if you're the Dolphins, you think you're doing this? We drafted Tua. You're ducking for cover. Niners go, Giants got Waller for pennies. Yeah, well, he's injured, but he's productive. Couple 1,000-yard seasons. You know, that's one of the very few guys I've ever seen transition from wide out to tight end like that. You know, because he's considered a tight end now. But when he first was with the Raiders, he was more of a receiver type guy. Okay? Whew. Why not Austin Eckler? No? Okay. No Austin Eckler, but Rashad Penny. Good night. This is too easy, man. Hey, Tone, this is too easy. Oh, man. All right. Good night, man. At least I'm not covering Fireman Ed. Okay? Honestly, at least I'm not covering a Fireman Ed in the stupid Jets. Who in their right mind covers the Jets? How could you possibly cover a team? The last time they were good was when a guy was on the moon. I mean, hey, Tone, the last time the Jets were good, we had a guy on the moon. I mean, yeah, it goes drama. Okay, it's content, I guess. Okay, you're right. It's content. Okay, I'd probably have a lot of fun with it. I probably would, but man, dude, this is like the young and the restless in New York with the Jets. It's like Victor Newman. Victor Newman is offering Aaron Rodgers. You know what? Screw hosting Jeopardy. Aaron Rodgers should take the role of Victor Newman on Young and the Restless. He'd be great at it. Complete drama guy. He'd be spectacular. My grandmother loved Young and the Restless. That's how I know Victor Newman. He'd be great. Oh, man. The Jets. I don't know why. Every time I think of the Jets. Oh. Yeah, Victor Newman's a legend. Flash, you're right. Hey, I don't know who got more tail, Flash. Captain Kirk, James Bond, or Victor Newman. I don't know. You can flip a coin and land on it and be okay with it, right? All right? Victor Newman, James Bond, Captain Kirk. See, Kirk had more variety when it came to tail because he was around the universe, right? And flying around everywhere. And the nebula. And, so I don't know, man. There was something about Kirk, man. Kirk had all the universal tail. And, Bond had kind of like coast-to-coast tail. And Victor Newman, man, he just was a rich guy. He just picked who he wanted, right? So I don't know, man. Victor by a mile? You're going with quality, aren't you, Neil? The Tone's going, who's Victor Newman? Tone's going like this. Sills, I'll stick with Denzel. I'm like, I will too. Oh, man. Marcus Epps. Yeah, man, he's long gone. Big money. All right. I'm going to look at some of the players that the Eagles could look at 10-31. And especially, and by the way, this is before Wednesday. We'll do this again on Thursday and Friday. Blankenship is better and younger than Epps. Again, wishful thinking, unknown. All of this, you go from certainty to unknown with every comment that you post. Every comment you post, you go to the land of unknown and cheaper. Yes, Matt. Unknown and cheaper. You better have Mahomes as a quarterback. You better. And you don't. Oh, Mike. Really, Michael? Oh, no. Here's a couple of the players that I think the Eagles could take. Remember something now. When you're looking at a draft, you have no idea who you're taking. You have an idea of the players in the pool because you can't be caught off guard if somebody jumps up in front of you. So the Eagles sitting at 10-31, do you think they know who they're taking? No, they don't. And nor does anybody else. because you don't know what teams are going to do. Some panic, some don't. Some move down, some move up. Could the Eagles move down at 10? Maybe. Especially if a player they like and there's multiple players at a position of need, they may slide down to 14. They could. But nobody knows what they're going to do right now. You have no idea. You have no idea. Okay? So what you do is you put a pool of players together. You know, like, here's a great example. Tone, help me out on this. Davenport to the Vikings, that's a great sign. That's a great sign. Tone, help me out if I'm not mistaken here on this. Didn't Patrick Surtain, before he went to the Broncos, that was a target the Cowboys had. Then the Eagles and the Cowboys made a deal. They switched places, and Micah Parsons fell in their lap. And then they took Devontae. Isn't that how that worked? That the Broncos took Patrick Surtain from Alabama. They coveted a corner in Denver. When he came off the board, the Eagles and the Cowboys, they switched picks. And they got Micah Parsons, and the Eagles got Devontae Smith. Okay? Good. Okay. So the Cowboys, they had no intentions of taking Micah Parsons. That's what drafting is. You got to be prepared. Okay? You got to be prepared. Okay? So here's some of the players. I pray to Jesus that Jalen Carter falls to 10. He's the best player in the draft. He's cleared. I don't give a shit about anything. This guy's Jerome Brown. You could get cheaper. Putting him next to Jordan Davis might motivate Jordan. You would be young and talented. Okay? And just like Tone said, what is the one thing that the Eagle organization has always believed in? The trenches. O-line and D-line. They know how important it is to be elite in those respected positions. They're very good at it. Now, again, the Andre Dillard move was a failure. Now, to be fair to Dillard, okay, he might go to Tennessee and start and have a long career there. So Dillard not starting on the Eagle O-line, you know, some would go like this. Sills, I don't care who you draft. You think any of these guys that are going to get drafted in the first round this year could start on that Eagle O-line this year? No, I don't. Even the kid from Northwestern, the kid Paris from Ohio State, those guys ain't starting. So to be fair to Dillard a little bit, maybe it's more I didn't like his attitude. But, I mean, to be, you know, the kid from Georgia, Ohio State, and I think the kid from Northwestern, those guys ain't starting in Philly. And they're first-round picks. So you got to kind of be fair to Andre a little bit. Okay? Landon Dickerson's turning out to be a superstar player. Sayamalo was good, man. He's got hell of a resume. He's got a Super Bowl championship, 2 NFC titles, played under Jeff Stoutland. I mean, the whole 9 yards, man. He's got a massive resume, and he's 30. Okay? You know, and that could probably be true about Dillard. Okay, you could probably say that Dillard never demonstrated any kind of. You know what? You know what? I'll take this. Time works. Let me throw this at you. I don't think it's that he never demonstrated enough hunger. I don't think he demonstrated enough flexibility. Does that make sense? Okay, he never demonstrated the flexibility that you needed to play in that O-line. You know what I'm saying? So that was my problem with him. So to be fair, you know, are any of these guys going to start? in the Philadelphia Eagle offensive line? No, they're not. I believe the player that they're going to take at this position is going to be Devon Witherspoon. I love the kid. When I watched him against Michigan, and I've been telling you guys, he's my favorite player in the draft. And when I watched him play, he reminds me of Bob Sanders. Bob Sanders was a little bit undersized, and Bob Sanders was a hitter. This guy's a hitter, and I love this kid. I believe if he's there at 10, I think they grab him because I think he's a game-changing type player, and I think he's a tone-setting type guy. Okay? I think he's a tone-setting guy. If Carter's there, though, I'm taking Carter over him. I don't know if Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech is going to be down at 10. Okay? I don't know he's going to be down there at that position. I think he's going to go sooner. He exhibited, according to Tracy Rocker, who was running the defensive line drills. To me, I think Wilson showed all the intangibles on being a fantastic ball player there. I think he's off the board too. I do. I think he'll be off the board by the time 10 comes around. You know, the more I watched him at the combines, the more I liked him. Keely Ringo, the kid from Georgia, the cornerback, backpedaled well, played in a great conference, played on a great scheme. These Georgia kids are fantastic that Kirby Smart has brought into his program. Man, they are littered on defense, and they are great on defense. They're not good. They're like old Miami Hurricane good. There is a lot of talented superstars on that football team. And this kid, Ringo, I'll tell you, man, the more you watch him, and here you got to remember something too. The thing that you always have to remember when you're evaluating, try to match it up with the tape on what you saw at the combines. If a guy had, like, here was my problem with Jordan Davis. His tape never matched what he did at the combines. Does that make sense to you guys? His tape never matched his production at Georgia with what he did at the combines. Okay? It just never matched up. Yale goes, Ringo, at 30, I don't know who'll be down there. I don't know he'll be down there. Okay? Arthur keeps saying that Heisman. So? He had 9 sacks in 43 games. That's not productive. That's not productive. He had 20-some-odd tackles in 14 games. That's not productive. Christian Gonzalez, I'm hearing, is going sooner. Okay? He helped himself at the combines. A ton. Helped himself a ton at the combines. And I got Myles Murphy. Maybe a little high at 10. So again, trading down. Clemson, edge rusher. So Carter, if he's there at 10. Witherspoon, Wilson, Ringo, Gonzalez, Murphy. Those are your guys, in my opinion, at 10, especially with what we're seeing now. Isn't it crazy that the Eagles have no interest in linebackers at this position, and they've lost 2? And they're counting on a guy who couldn't crack the starting lineup. You guys keep telling me Kaiser White wasn't good. Well, if Kaiser White wasn't good, what was Dean? Worse? You can't have it both ways. If Kaiser White was so bad, who just got $5.5 million, then why couldn't he beat him out? You couldn't beat a guy who's bad out. It's never a good place to go when you're evaluating a kid you drafted. Okay? And when you draft a guy at 13 and he gives you no sacks, and he's not very productive, and he was smoked in the Super Bowl. Got a lot of work to do. Here's a guy at around 30. I don't believe Bijan Robinson is going to be down there. And now with this cheap move of Rashad Penny, I guarantee you, I can't wait to see the numbers. That's why they're not probably disclosed. Hey, Tone, if you see the numbers on Rashad Penny, I'd be interested. There's not a chance in hell they gave that guy $5 million because they had to give Miles Sanders it. There's not a chance. And if they did, it doesn't make sense. Keon White, edge rusher, Georgia Tech down here at 31. Another kid to keep an eye on. This guy, Emmanuel Forbes, Mississippi State corner, could be somebody to take a look at. Now, the big question is going to be, is Roseman going to move down off of 10? And will he move down from 10 and out of the first round for picks next year, or multiple picks in the second and third round this year? What will he do? Especially with all the players that are leaving for free agency. How many picks do the Eagles have this year? What is it? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 2 sevens. Do they have 6 picks this year? How many picks do the Eagles need? Or how many picks do they have this year? Is it 6? I know it's 2 ones. I got it. Okay. It's 6. See, I think they need about 10. I think they need about 10 picks this year. Especially if and again, what I would do is this. Tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern time, right in the heart of our show, free agency is going to fall. Tomorrow is going to be a huge – I might not even have a guest tomorrow, okay, because free agency is going to be moving rapidly. Right, Tone? Tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern time, it's going to fall during our show. So I'm probably not going to have a guest tomorrow. So they got 6 picks. If they lose one of the corners, let's say they lose one of them, Gardner Johnson, slot corner, safety, whatever, and Bradbury. Let's just say they lose one of them, and they're not able to keep both of those 2 dudes, which they're not going to be able to. You're not going to go 14-5 for CJ and then turn around and pay 17 for Bradbury. You're not. So you're going to lose one of them. Both LBs. Javon Hargrave. Epps. I'm going to say Bradbury, and you're going to keep CJ. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 starters. They're not bringing back Fletcher Cox. So they're going to lose both tackles. Okay? And by the way, mind you, I'm saying that they're going to keep CJ, but I'm 50-50 on that. So on your defensive side of the football, not counting Sayamalo and Miles Sanders gone, you got 6 of your 11 starters gone. And you're going to be replacing them with lesser players and rookies. And you only have 6. Here's the situation. You're losing 6 starters. You have 6 draft choices. Granted, 2 ones. Huge. And you got a $50 million price tag you got to pay. How are you maneuvering through this? Well, simple. There's certainty directions you have to take here. And here's the directions. Well, you got to go and almost duplicate what Kansas City's doing. Got to get rid of all your really good players that are making big money. I'm going to make a point to you here. You're not going to be able to keep 2 tackles making $18 million a year. No team in the league has that except Philadelphia. Do you know that? You got 2 players, excuse me. How many teams have 3 players with over $15 million in base salary and they're 5 guys? Name me one. Name me one football team that has 3 players that make 15 or more million dollars in their O-line. There isn't a team. There's not a team that has 3 offensive linemen making north of $15 million. Kelsey's making 15 now. Mulata's making 15, and Lane makes 18. You're not keeping all 3 of them. Now, Kelsey's on a 1-year deal. Okay. Jalen's still on his rookie season. So you're going to be able to navigate that this year because Kelsey's going to come off the books. 15 million is going to come off the books next year. But this is what you're facing when you pay Jalen. You got an entire side of the ball you have to retool with a brand new coordinator who believes in a 34 and you don't have a linebacker to save your life. And on the other hand, you have a $25 million wideout, 3 $15 million offensive linemen, and you're going to pay a $50 million quarterback? How? Where? You're never going to be the same. Unless you hit on your draft picks. Hassan Reddick couldn't cover a cold. He was terrible in pass coverage. He's terrible in pass coverage. Terrible. Paul, you do not draft well. Andre Dillard is another example of it. $50 million quarterback. 3 players north of $15 million in salary in your O-line. A $25 million wideout. And you got a whole side of the ball to retool. Only way you do it is cheaper and younger. Rashad Penny is the greatest example of that. Paul, right. They got to hit on their draft picks. More so. And they got to get more production out of them. They got no production out of their draft choices last year. None. 0. And if Dean was so good, why wasn't he an impact on special teams? It was one of the worst units in the league. Philly 500, 5:30 Eastern. We're going to reset. I think the quarterbacks that are going to go in the draft could have an impact on where some of these guys land at 10 and 31. I want to hit on that. Big week in the NFL. Big week. I told you, this is a huge week for Howie Roseman.